Hello everyone, Swanee and Cookie here with another Helldivers 2 video. Now there's some pretty interesting topics that we need to go over today, so we're just going to jump right into it. So Cookie, why don't you start us off with an update on the next patch? Like, where is it?
Well, the update on the next patch is it's nowhere to be found, because as of yet, there is no patch. Baskinator, one of the community managers on Discord, got a lot of questions about that this morning, and she just said that there is straight up no patch today, to make it simple. Someone also asked when they should be expecting the next one, and she said we don't have a date for it. I mean, the news here is that there is no news, which is news, because this is becoming quite a big deal as they go day by day not having a new patch, and to say the fans are getting restless is kind of an understatement, I think, at this point.
Oh yeah, I'm starting to get pretty concerned here, because Twinbeard a couple days ago tried to set everyone's expectations and said, hey, this isn't a big balancing update. It's just going to have a couple fixes here and there, and they're going to tweak some things. But, you know, with him saying this isn't the big, giant update that everyone's expecting, and it's taking this long to get out, it's really got me thinking, like, what the heck's going to be in this update? If it's taking them this long to get this out here, everyone's expectations are going to grow every single day that we're not getting this update.
Yeah, I saw an interesting meme on the Reddit, which was like kind of showing how whenever they were nerfing the game, they seemed to come out with things really, really easily. But now that they're actually trying to buff weapons and stuff, it's taking them forever. And that is kind of a little odd. I think that might honestly be due to just that really wasn't their plan. I think this really is just a complete change of where they want the game to go. And for some reason, that's taking them significantly longer to kind of just change everything around that. Even with that excuse, this is kind of weird that it's taking this long, to be honest with you.
Because before, we were getting updates or some sort of patch or hotfix every single week, and now we're on 3 weeks with no update, and they can't even tell us when it might come out, which is pretty concerning. Like, they can't even give us a ballpark estimate, like, it should come out next week sometime, or maybe we're shooting for, like, Thursday or Friday. Like, they just straight up don't know, which is not good.
Yeah, I think they're playing this one as close to the vest and as safely as possible. So I do think it's possible that it still releases this week or releases soon. They definitely don't want to trip over themselves and say the wrong thing, and then they're like, oh crap, our patch isn't ready, and now everybody's going to freak out. So I kind of get why they don't give a specific date, but at the same point, yeah, it could come out a month from now for all we know at this point. Kind of having a struggle with that.
Well, it's got to come out before the next war bond, because that's in just a couple weeks, unless they postpone the war bond as well.
It's possible. I mean, this has got to be a pretty big patch. I can't, that's the part that doesn't line up for me, is like, kind of like you said, if this isn't going to be the patch to end all patches, which is what Twinbeard said, then why is it taking so long? If it's just a general patch with not a whole lot of big fixes, it shouldn't take 3 weeks to come out. There hasn't even been hot fixes for crashes and stuff like they usually have. So this is odd, and it's surprising, and I think they're just really trying not to mess this one up, I guess. That's the best I can come up with for why it's taking so long.
My hope, though, is that if they're not doing a ton of balancing changes to the weapons, they're at least doing quality of life stuff, like a lot of nitpicks people have with bugs and glitches and things not working properly. Hopefully that kind of stuff gets fixed.
About the only thing that Twinbeard and others have said for sure is going to be in this update is the whole patrols issue, and how there hasn't been, less enemies on patrols and stuff. But other than that, we have no idea what's coming in this. Not really.
But on a different note, we can talk about the major order for a little bit, because we've been getting quite a few new dispatches and the latest briefing, and there's actually been a couple glitches going on that people in the community have started to notice, where some people are already getting to see the next step of this major order, and it's looking pretty interesting. And I feel like this major order is going to help pave the way for the future of the game.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of hinting going on in this, and it seems like it's kind of happening somewhat rapidly, because just yesterday we had the news release of, dark fluid and stuff being mentioned, and them having a malfunction with it, and like spaghettifying a bunch of workers. And then yesterday we also had the briefing talking about how they want to use the dark fluid in the future to, deal with Meridia. And we also recently got this new dispatch which talks about how they're evacuating Meridia, which obviously because of the dark fluid and wanting to get rid of the planet. And as you were saying about some of the glitches that have been going on in the game, there's basically everybody on the ship is talking as if we're already on to part 2, because they're talking about how the dark fluid's already on the ship and we're about to deploy it on Meridia and get on to the next part of this. So I doubt they did that on purpose. That doesn't sound like that's supposed to be in the game the way it is, but this is all moving kind of quickly, and this is I feel like I've done this 1,000 times saying the Illuminate might finally have their arrival, so I kind of feel like it's almost wrong to keep saying that, but this definitely seems like it should be leading to that. It's the first time they brought up the Illuminate in briefings and dispatches and stuff like that, so...
And we're using their, dark matter to create this weapon. It's going to get their attention, I feel like, especially if the way this is heading, we're supposed to blow up a planet and we're supposed to be using this dark fluid. I feel like that's going to get the Illuminate's attention, but that's just me. And like you said, I went around the ship and I was talking to all the different officers on board, and they were saying things like, be careful, we have dark fluid on the ship already, and we got to be careful because we could blow up at any second. And I'm like, what are you talking about? When did we get dark fluid on the ship? So I think, yes, some of this major order is glitched and it's not working the way that it's supposed to just yet.
Well, I know the Illuminate's supposed to be dead right now. At least that's what they think, at least. Everybody on the ship, because they would talk about that. But I don't know, obviously when you're dealing with black holes, anything's possible, so they could easily just come out of the black hole from whatever world or the past or whatever. They could do that a couple different ways. The interesting thing for me is if the Illuminate does come directly out of this black hole that's being made on Meridia, that would put it right where the bugs are supposed to be attacking. So does the Illuminate replace the Terminids? Do they go in a different part of the galactic map? Because that wouldn't really make sense at the moment. So I'm kind of curious if that is ultimately what their plan is, and they're going to come out of the black hole that we created on Meridia. I don't know exactly how that's going to work on the galactic map, but it just makes too much sense. Every time the Super Earth government does something crazy like this, there's ramifications. So there has to be major ramifications of literally creating a freaking black hole in space. Yeah. That's got to cause some pretty massive problems.
But it looks like based off of these leaks and these glitches that people are having, that the next step in the major order is that we are supposed to take this dark fluid, and there's going to be this new objective where we have to deploy it on certain bug planets, and yeah, I just have a feeling it's going to go south pretty quickly.
There's no way it doesn't. If this becomes a truly successful operation, that would make no sense. So something has to go wrong. Maybe it's not the Illuminate, but something will go terribly wrong in this situation.
Now, I'm definitely reaching here, but Twinbeard did say that something new is coming in this new update.
So I have to say, it's not a big update. We're just adding a whole new faction to the game. Yeah. They could be. They could be literally just trying to get our expectations down and then surprise us with a truly gigantic update. That would be an interesting twist that I wouldn't see coming. So, it's not impossible that that's what they're getting at, but it definitely looks like the Illuminate shouldn't be that far away. But I was about to mention, if the Illuminate's not that far away, it would be surprising because of what's going on right now. But maybe this is just a front. Maybe they want us to think that it's unorganized right now in Arrowhead, but actually they have all this stuff ready. I don't know. That'd be pretty interesting and a pretty wild twist.
I wouldn't see it coming.
I would not see that coming.
Catch the community off guard.
That's a PR move I've never heard of before. Make it look like we're in chaos and then suddenly show that, nope, we weren't in chaos. We were doing this. Be like, I've never heard of that business strategy before, but that would be really interesting.
But moving on from the Illuminate, we want to talk about some of the mech drama that's been going on the past couple of days. Ever since this new mech came out, there's been this big debate in the community. Half the community is like, oh, I love the mech, it's amazing. And then the other half is like, I hate it needs buffs, it's too underpowered. And yeah, so we just kind of wanted to talk about that. I made a video about it going over my thoughts of the mech. I like the mech. I don't know about you, Cookie. What do you think about the mech?
I generally agree with you. I think the mech it's It's definitely better than the last mech. It's enjoyable. It definitely is useful. It does have its drawbacks. There are things that it can't do effectively, but I kind of feel like if it didn't have those drawbacks, it probably would be too overpowered. I think it's in a good spot. It's great against small to medium enemies. It does really, really well, but it does struggle against big enemies, but it's not unusable against big enemies. It's just not very good. And I think that's probably where it should be. Yeah, it can get one shot by certain things, but not by a whole lot. And as long as you're relatively careful with it, it doesn't blow up all the time, like how the first mech would against the automatons. It can take hits. So I don't think it's a bad stratagem at all. I think maybe they could tweak a thing here or there, but honestly, the way their tweaks go, they tend to cause more problems. So if they want to keep it the way it is, I think that's perfectly fine.
Now, we did get some clarification about the mechs over on Reddit. Someone asked the community manager, Baskinator, over on Reddit about equipping more than one mech at a time. So if you want to use the old mech and the new mech together, Baskinator responded saying you're meant to only equip one at this time, and it's due to resource management. From our code team lead, they said that the mechs require a lot of system resources, significantly more than other stratagems, to the point where we need to keep a cap on vehicles in general to avoid further problems with stability and performance. We want to uncap the number of mechs/vehicles, but more work is required on our end to make sure we can do that in a stable way. So if you're curious as to why we can only select one mech at a time, that's apparently the reason.
It's really interesting because we've kind of wondered for a long time that they had all these vehicles in leaks way back, dating back to like March, and we've never gotten more than the mechs as far as vehicles are concerned. And I guess this is probably why, because it sounds like the game is not handling well when it has vehicles and stuff like this on the map. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I don't know if they'll ever be able to fix that at some point, but it's not a good sign for getting vehicles in the future in this game.
No, like I could already see the uproar. Like people's going to be very angry if we get like a new Jeep or a new like tank or motorcycle or whatever, but you also can't select a mech simultaneously. That's going to make people upset. And another question is like, how can we have the free mech that they let us have the other day where we got to test it out, but we could also select another mech, and then you have like entire lobbies of people choosing mechs at the same time. So I'm kind of confused about this as a whole. I don't get it, but I'm also not a developer, so I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a perfectly valid reason to me. I wouldn't be super bothered by it. It'd be interesting to see what it'd be like to have that many Helldivers at once. But that's the other part of it. Like, you can't have both mechs at the same time pop up on the battlefield anyway. Or you could just make it so you could only call in one mech at a time. So like when the one mech dies, you can call in the other mech. So I don't understand why that would cause more performance issues. But again, like you said, we're not developers. We don't know the ins and outs of this kind of stuff. But that does seem odd. But I'll take their word for it because I don't know any better. That's a good reason if that is the reason. That's definitely a good reason not to do it. We have enough stability issues as is.
So now I want to take a step back and talk about the mech and the whole debate about if it needs buffed or nerfed or whatever. I think it's in a good spot, but I do agree with a lot of the complaints that people have been having. I compiled a list of like some of the different things that people want to see fixed about this mech. For example, one, it struggles against Bile Titans. I think I get that argument, but not every single stratagem in the game needs to be able to take out Bile Titans. And I've seen people complain that this mech's autocannons aren't as strong as the regular autocannon that you could just carry on your back. And it all comes down to balance. I think people aren't realizing that, like, yeah, the one that you carry on your shoulder is stronger, but you also aren't protected by a giant freaking mech suit that has 150 shots. So, I mean, that's kind of the trade-off.
You also don't have 150 shots in the autocannon that goes on your back either. Yeah, it might not make sense from a lore role-playing standpoint. Like, why would the autocannon that the guy that walks around has be more powerful? I get that. But as far as the game is concerned and actual balancing, it would be extremely overpowered. And I honestly would rather have 150 of the shots that it has now instead of being reduced to 10 ammo shots of good, really powerful autocannon. I'd rather have the ability to take out a lot of stuff than just take out the big stuff. I think they're just expecting way too much out of this mech. It's a really, really good stratagem. It comes in and it changes the battlefield for you, but it's not going to be an insta-win. You can't just let it come onto the battlefield and you kill absolutely everything and desecrate the entire entire landscape. That would not be fun. So yeah, I think people expect a little bit too much out of this kind of thing.
Yeah, if this mech was as strong as what Reddit wants this mech to be, and it could just kill a Bile Titan in like 3 to 5 shots to the face, no one would ever, like, you would see this mech everywhere, in every match. It would be so overpowered, it would overshadow every other stratagem, so you would just see nothing but mechs everywhere. So I don't think it needs to be that powerful. Now, there are some changes that people want to see being made that I think are pretty reasonable. For example, people were complaining that the mech has too long of a cooldown at 10 minutes and you only get 2 mechs. Depending on the mission type, you might not even get to get your second mech. Like a 10-minute cooldown, some of those missions are only 15 minutes or less, so you're only going to get 1 mech, and if it blows up immediately, then tough luck, you're just out of a mech. So I do agree that they need to tweak that. They either need to have like a cooldown like they do with the airstrikes, where when you're out of airstrikes you can go on refresh and there's a little timer. They either need to do that, or they need to reduce the time limit a little bit, something. I do agree with the community there.
Yeah, I think I do too. I think the problem with that is like it already has a limit on how many you can have in a match, so the cooldown's kind of pointless. Like it should be like the orbital lasers. Like the lasers, you only have 3, but you can basically deploy them almost whenever you want. I think there's a very small cooldown for lasers, or it's like a few minutes or something. Something like that I think would make more sense. Like if you want to waste both of your mechs in the first 10 minutes, go ahead. That's your choice to do, but you're not going to get another one. I think that would be a better way to do it as opposed to how they're doing it. Like, keep the limit at 2, but give a very small cooldown of like 2 to 3 minutes or something.
Some other changes that I saw that people want made are, 1, the mech struggles at shooting down, which is a pretty good argument. I mean,
it definitely does.
Yeah, if enemies get up close, you're kind of screwed.
I guess that might make sense from a lore perspective, because I guess the autocannons are kind of stuck in place, so they can't shoot down. I don't know if that I don't know if that makes sense. It's just that's kind of how they constructed it. But yeah, it should be able to shoot down. I mean, how advanced are we that we can't move arms up and down? Like, it feels like something they should be able to do.
My guess is that the splash damage would probably blow up your mech, and they haven't found a way to fix that, would be my guess.
That might be true.
That's
probably true.
Yeah, another big complaint is that the left arm is super inaccurate when you're shooting, and the other mech has the same issue as well. Whatever's tied to the left trigger is just super inaccurate, and they need to do something to fix that.
So the left arm, people are finding more inaccurate than the right arm?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's not even close.
Interesting. I guess I haven't played with it enough, but that's interesting.
Yeah, it depends on the camera, like where your camera's angled at, and yeah, so that I agree needs to be fixed as well. Another really good change that I saw somebody suggest is it needs to be able to shoot out stratagems, like airstrikes and stuff. There needs to be like some sort of stratagem launcher inside of the mech, so you can call in airstrikes or call in, like, it would be way easier to take out Bile Titans, and a lot of people's complaints about the mech suffering against Bile Titans would go away if you could call in like an orbital airstrike or a rail cannon strike from inside of your mech. I think that would solve everybody's issues.
I don't know if I'm on that one, because I kind of like that it has that like inability, like you can't just do everything you can do on the ground inside the mech at the same time. Like, that's one drawback of the mech, is that you have to like get out of it to do that kind of stuff. I kind of like keeping that in, so I think I would personally disagree with that, but it'd be really powerful if you could do that. That would be really
might become
really
too overpowered, but I like that change, so we're at a disagreement on that one. And then the final thing I want to throw in is I would like to see some sort of like repair backpack or some sort of resupply backpack for the mech. So you put on the backpack, then you climb into the mech, and then it's like a little drone would hover around the mech and sort of do repairs to it as it takes damage. I would like to see something like that in the future.
Would that be a different stratagem?
Yeah, like you're giving up a backpack slot and you're using a mech slot. Like, it would be 2 stratagems, but it would repair your mech at the same time.
That's an interestingly risky stratagem. But if people want to do that, yeah, that would be an option. If it takes up a whole stratagem slot, that definitely wouldn't be overpowered.
But either way, you know, me and you both agree that we like the way that the mech handles. We don't feel that it should be able to take on every single thing in the game, but it feels fun. Like, I can easily take out an entire swarm of bugs and stuff, but, you know, obviously they do need to tweak it a little bit. They need to make it more accurate. They need to fix that cooldown time a little bit. Like, there's some ways that they can improve it without making it overpowered.
Yeah, if this is how we can expect things to be balance-wise moving forward, I think we're in a good place. For me, this is a good start. If this is the beginning of the new order, I guess, of balancing.
Yeah.
This would be a good example, I think.
I just think that everyone gets so enraged because they base everything off the Bile Titan. And when things struggle against the Bile Titan, then it makes everybody upset.
Yeah, it is especially horrible against the Bile Titan. But, I mean, like I said, it's not built to go up against the big stuff. So that's just something you have to account for.
Well, I guess that's going to do it for everything in today's video, guys. Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. That way you don't miss out on any future Helldivers 2 videos. If you made it this far in the video, consider giving it a thumbs up. It helps us out in the algorithm, and that is going to do it for us, and we'll talk to you all next time. So, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.